Hello, everyone. Happy New Year and welcome to After Reality. I'm Spencer Kitley.
And I'm Daniel Oler.
It's back. It's dramatic. It's captivating. What else could it be but one of the staples of our podcast, the icon of TV dating, The Bachelor. We're fired up about the premiere and the season to come, so we're back after a holiday hiatus and dedicating our full show to batching. Dano, another stellar week in reality TV. Before we get this thing going, let everybody know where they can find us online.
You can hit us up on Twitter at After Reality Pod or like our Facebook page, the After Reality TV Podcast.
And also this week, we are once again joined by a good friend of the podcast and resident reality TV guru over at Fantasy for Reality, our good friend, Mr. Matt Gray. Matt, what's happening?
How are you guys? Well, good to be back. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. It's always a good time of year when we hear you back on the podcast and The Bachelor's on the air. Dano, we've been watching a little bit of everything. I know we're always excited when The Bachelor, The Challenge come on. Anything else been piquing your interest of late? Either one of you guys?
I keep an eye on whatever Bravo sends out. So Timber Creek Lodge, I've been catching a couple episodes of that. It's kind of like Below Deck on a mountain, similar to last year's Asprey. Yeah, so I've been catching that out. Teen Mom 2's back.
I feel like every time I talk to Dano, Teen Mom 2 or Teen Mom OG is on the air. Is one of them always on TV?
Pretty much. It's like the Housewives of MTV. There's always a housewife show on, and there's always a Teen Mom show on.
But there's only like 2 Teen Mom shows, right?
Yeah, maybe during the summertime it doesn't run.
Gotcha. Matt, anything else been on your reality TV airwaves?
Well, I've been watching the Top Chef season.
I've been watching. I'm a little behind, but I've been watching. I missed the last 2 episodes.
I just caught up the other day. I missed the one that aired right before New Year's, and so I caught up on that one. But it's been a good season. I like the returning chefs, so that's been fun.
Yeah, I've actually eaten at the restaurant of one of the returning chefs. I can't recall her name, but she's from LA. She runs Playa Provisions.
I mean, it could be Brooke or Casey.
Yeah, Brooke. That's who it is.
Brooke seems to be kicking butt on the season. People love her food.
Yeah, so I've been watching a lot of Bravo shows as well. Real World's winding down. The Challenge, I think, is on the near horizon. Dano, have you seen any timelines on that?
No, but I think Are You the One's coming back?
Are You the One's back next week? Actually, I think there's a sneak preview Wednesday night, which is tonight.
They might space the challenge out until after that's done, probably.
Yeah, and then the Survivor place filler that's coming up, Hunted, at the end of the month. I'm looking forward to that one as well. But let's go ahead and get into this thing. I think we've talked long enough. We've waited long enough. It's the longest lull of the year from the end of Paradise to the first of the year where we get teed up with The Bachelor. And Dano, you had something you want to talk about here on The Bachelor.
Yeah, well, The Verge came out with this article earlier this week asking if we're in the golden era of reality TV. And it's a huge article. I don't recommend reading it. It's like 10,000 words. And it's kind of all over the place. But basically what they were saying is we're in the third phase of reality TV. Phase 1 was real people, but they were afraid to be on camera. So the producers had to be more involved and create storylines. Phase 2 was people who grew up watching reality TV, so they knew how to play the games, and it became more of a game show than a reality show. And then phase 3, it's kind of the best of both worlds, where it's a generation used to being on video through social media and all that good stuff, and are comfortable being themselves. So it's almost like the best of phase 1, where it's real people, but they're used to being on camera, so they act more naturally.
Huh.
I'm just wondering what you guys think about that.
An interesting theory. I definitely buy parts 1 and parts 2. I'm trying to think if part 3 is whether they have anything to do with part 1, whether they are in fact real people or they're just that social media thing makes sense. But I do think these people are all here to just blow up their own fame. So I don't know if they're real people.
Yeah, well, and my take on it is you have these people, they have their constant exposure with social media. That's something they're accustomed to. It's more natural because they've never known anything other than reality TV to have been on the air. I mean, for the majority of our lives, some sort of reality TV has been on the air since back to around 1990, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's about cultivating almost this same personality on TV as you are cultivating, in some cases, on your Snapchat or on your Instagram or whatever these kind of aspirational celebrities are creating. I do think there are still exceptions where you have people that are very self-aware. We saw that this season on The Real World with Mike DeShinzo, who was on a previous season of Are You the One, where he had said something racially insensitive one night. The house was largely not upset with him, but wanted him to be aware of what he had done. But he was so self-aware that he took himself out of the game or out of the house and went home. So you still do see some of this self-awareness of I can't be this person on TV. So I think it's very much moved into that phase 3, but it's not a 100% thing. That's my very long-winded thoughts on that. Dana, what are your thoughts?
It's hard for me to say, I'm old school, so I still think phase 1 might have been the golden era, and we're trying to recapture that initial phase of reality TV when the show first came, when it showed like The Real World, Survivor, and then, what Fox was shooting out with like Joe Millionaire and all that. That was like so shocking and surprising, and you never seen anything like that before. And now I think we're still trying to recapture those moments. And now, but they've been so overdone that it's just too out of whack. And you're like, I've seen this 1,000 times with 1,000 different ways. And I think the originality is gone from reality TV.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
That's why it's great when someone does put something out totally original that you've never seen before on reality TV. It's hard to do, but they still occasionally something comes up.
Yeah, I'll wrap up real quick. It's funny you got both points you guys brought up in the article. One about Spencer, you saying that they have to be who they are on the show as well as real life. That's just the way social media is. You're going to get caught if you're lying. If you're a liar on reality TV, you'll be caught. Same thing in social media. And then Matt, you were saying they actually do become kind of famous through their Instagram followers, and they brought about the point that these supermarket mags actually cover these reality people just like they would cover Brad and Jen. So
right,
and one with The Bachelor and everything like that. So they treat them like quasi famous.
I agree. And it was bizarre that was actually pointed out to Nick last night with one of the women who got out of the limo. And she said she felt like she was meeting a celebrity.
Oh, yes.
And there's no question about it that these women should feel like that. They've seen this guy on TV for 3 years, for 2 years, but on 3 versions of this show. He's as famous to them as meeting any other celebrity in LA. Now, of course, that wasn't a smart move by her. It wasn't received well by Nick. But yeah, absolutely, they should feel like they're meeting a celebrity.
Yeah, I mean, I just checked Caitlin Bristow's Instagram, 1.5 million followers. Sean Booth, her fiance, 940,000 followers. Can you imagine having that many people interested in what you were doing when you have really done nothing other than just happen to be on a reality show, get chosen to be on a reality show?
Right. Yeah, it's mind-blowing.
Definitely some brand building going on there. Let's go ahead and shift gears into The Bachelor. We've had varying thoughts amongst the 3 of us when Nick was announced as The Bachelor. He's the man. He's a bit of the myth, and he certainly has a legend in the Bachelor world. Where are we sitting on what we think about Nick right now? Matt, we'll start with you.
Well, it's bizarre because not like him. The whole first time he showed up on Andy's season and on Caitlin's season. Neither time did I like Nick. And I, just like the rest of the world, seem to have fallen for their editing job. Started to like him in the middle of Paradise, and now find him charming and funny. I think, it definitely helps him that he's now no longer snaking other men out of relationships and hurting them, and he's just sort of there alone as the only guy. So that's helpful. But I tend to think he's probably somewhere in between the Nicks we know, and that they just gave him a bad edit on purpose the first 2 times and a very good edit last time. And
then it's going to get the tremendous edit this time.
Right, exactly.
Dano, how about you?
I'm a lot more stubborn than Matt is. I'm out on Nick, and he has to I just think I don't think he got. I think he is who he is, and we know who he is. I just watching the girls get out.
Tell us, Dennis Green.
Yeah.
You tell us, Dennis Green.
Just watching the girls, the look he was giving the girls as they got out of the limo, and look at them you're next. You're going to be girl 5 I hook up with. I think he has a goal to bed all 25 girls this season.
Oh, well, I got some good chuckles out of the opening lead-ins with Nick. Particularly, he had some kind of self-deprecating humor. But then when ABC felt the need to position upward angle camera as Nick detrowed to go into the shower and put a black box on, I laughed out loud when they did this.
My wife was repulsed by that scene.
I let out a big laugh. Why is this happening?
Yeah.
Of course, they follow that all up with all of his history, and I guess maybe the most quotable thing he had to offer was wanting to give America a happy ending.
But is it a joke that ABC now always does the shower scene where the guy is rubbing his ass with the soap? Is it a joke? Are we in on the joke, or are they making fun of it, laughing at us? Or?
It's once Kimmel did that with was it Sean or Chris that he did that with? Or was it Juan Pablo?
I don't know. No, you might be right. It could be.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of, did you see? So in that same intro, obviously we had Ben and Chris Soules and Sean there. Did you see what Chris Soules' ex Whitney, how she trolled him on Twitter following the premiere?
No. What did she do?
She asked, "Why is Chris giving advice?" And nothing more, just ... afterwards.
Good question, to be honest.
I think Chris and Sean will be on TV any opportunity that is ever given to them. I don't think it will ever end.
Yes. Certainly Chris.
And I think Sean, too. I think they're both TV whores.
I found myself last night saying, why can't people be more like JP and Ashley, where they just move on with their lives? And then I remembered ultrasound on television. So, gee, there's
no one has ever moved on with their lives on this show. I get Desiree and Chris probably are the least that we hear from, but even then, we heard from them on that 1-hour show they aired this Sunday night ahead of the premiere.
So then, yeah, there's no escape.
Yeah. Maybe you sign your life away when you start. Anyhow, let's get into some takeaways from these girls' early intro videos. I took some quick takeaways, people I didn't like immediately. Other interesting thoughts. Anybody jump out to you guys? Just as to jog your memories, we had Corinne with her nanny, and Josephine, who was just plain obnoxious. Alexis talking about dolphins. And then we had some other things with Rachel as the attorney, Danielle, the neonatal nurse, and Liz spilling the beans immediately. Make any snap judgments right off the bat on anyone?
Well, Granted, I am a Midwesterner who's lived in the Northeast and never in your guys' neck of the woods. But it felt like they took Raven and just turned her into a Southern caricature. You know, they had her talk about four things. I think four. Football, hunting, the Bible, and
Beer
going mudding.
or whiskey, mudding.
Mudding. Yeah. And I
Sounds
was
like a country song in
you know,
there somewhere.
I don't know whether that's true or not, but it feels like every stereotype about the South that they could possibly lump into a 2-minute segment.
Dano, she doesn't hold a candle to Miss Brittany Cartwright over on Vanderpump Rules in the Southern category.
No, she doesn't. I thought, kind of looking at Raven, that she was going to get the villain edit this season. And it looks like it's surprising because it looks like Corinne's going to get it. So
Yeah,
those are my big takeaways.
So I've done some research on Corinne. We know she lives at home. We know she, quote, runs a company. And she has an adult nanny or a housekeeper. I cannot find anywhere. I've read lots of articles, and all the articles say we can't find what Corinne actually does.
Yep, I tried to find it.
A LinkedIn page that doesn't have any concrete information. What could she possibly? All it says anywhere is she runs an internet company, and it's a multi-million-dollar internet company. Apparently, that they can't tell us what it is.
Really? That's
Probably
bizarre.
one of the fake news sites.
She's reality Steve.
She runs she runs all that pro-Trump propaganda shit.
Right. I mean, it's hard to say why they would. It has to be weird because when you've ever done research in the past, you found it right away.
Yeah, how can we not find what the Olympios family does it's in Miami, right?
Maybe it's
maybe they're picking up stuff dropped out of airplanes.
Could be adult industry, Miami.
That's what I was thinking. Adult.
Oh, I see what you did there.
We will get to the bottom of it at some point.
Yeah,
We're going to do some serious investigative.
We're putting goals in place by end of season. We will know what the Corinne's family does for a living. Yeah, I left those opening videos kind of interested as to what she was about, but then like Josephine and Alexis, before she ever even put on that costume, was totally annoyed with them in the 60 seconds that I got to see of them. I did take a liking to Danielle M., who in our early December podcast, when Dano and I did snap judgments then on just photos, chose her as one of my top 2 favorites. Still really liking her.
I thought Rachel came across great.
I have a story about Rachel. When I worked in college athletics for a number of years, Rachel was actually one of my student workers for the first couple of years,
Really?
working in my office. So I knew Rachel when she was in college.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And she seemed great in her opening, and then he liked her, obviously. He gave her the first.
Yeah, the FIR.
Yeah.
So we moved past those videos, and Matt, I know you're a limos arrival guy, so I'm going to turn the ball over to you here.
Yeah, I do love that part of the episode because I've thought, like, if I ever went on this show, on The Bachelorette, how on earth would I distinguish myself? And I just imagine these contestants torturing themselves for hours thinking of how to come out of the limo.
Hold that thought real quick. Dano, what would you do?
My limo entrance. Oh, man. I really never thought about it, but just off the top of my head, I would kiss him. Or kiss her. If I was a female.
Yeah.
I I don't think I would have a shtick. I think I would just try to make an impression with being normal.
Yeah, and a bunch of them chose that, and I do think that's the best way to go. But the fact that some of them settle on the things they pick, like the camel, is just amazing to me.
Yeah, well, let's not give them too much credit because a lot comes from the producers.
I agree. That's true.
I know I'm loaded up on the unreal conspiracy theories, but
the red dress thing had to have been dictated by them.
I don't know. I mean, they didn't make that big a deal out of it. I think it may have just happened, which is just wild that it did. They managed to hide it a little in the group cast photo.
That's true. But here were my least favorite entrances.
Least favorite. Drum roll, please.
Yeah. So, obviously, I think Taylor's was brutal. To come out there and say that her girlfriends think he's a piece of shit. And then just kind of pause and not really say, but I don't, or anything. She was just like, yeah. I thought Ida Marie's trust fall was bad. I thought Haley's no underwear joke just totally fell flat.
Agreed.
I think, Raven's Arkansas Suey thing didn't work so hot.
I immediately threw her out because I have a disdain for the University of Arkansas. Sorry, University of Arkansas listeners that just left the podcast.
Well, I thought Jamie's balls thing with the nose ring really didn't work either. So I guess we may lose those listeners as well.
Let me ask you about this one, though, Matt. What about Brittany with the rubber glove and then the insinuated proctology test?
Yep, that was next. Under no circumstance do you it's never funny in any circumstance to bring up a prostate exam.
Oh.
So, yeah, that was a
So
foul.
those are your worst. I'm going with Brittany. Dano, you have an opinion here one way or another?
I mean, what's the whole shark thing, dolphin thing? Was that
dolphinately a shark suit?
I mean, I don't even know what that was. Who thought that was a good idea?
She made it through. She got a rose.
I know, and she got drunk too. Wasn't she drunk?
Oh, she was.
She was the highest scoring player on Fantasy for Reality.
She was. She had a huge night. She danced in the shark suit. She wore a ridiculous costume. She got drunk and acted like an idiot.
Is there points for jumping in the pool with your clothes on?
No, I should add that in.
Definitely.
You get points for stripping naked and jumping in the pool. But you probably should get it for going in clothes.
Yes. So Matt, we know what you didn't like. Who took the cake here as the big winners coming out of the limo?
All right, well, I'll hold off my favorite one for the last. Here were some that I liked. I liked the vile hussy joke.
I did as well. I'm very sad that Lauren's gone.
I thought that joke was way funnier than he thought that joke was.
A disgusting slut, as what she.
It was funny.
Yeah.
Then I kind of I appreciate it if you're from Alaska. I think Olivia's from Alaska. That the Eskimo kiss thing kind of was funny.
Yes.
I think the runner-up joke was that bad. It could have been cheesier, and it wasn't that terrible.
Who delivered that? I don't recall.
Sarah.
Okay.
He comes running up and says,
runner-up in running shoes. Yes.
Yeah. Now Corinne proved to be terrible later on, but I didn't think the hug token idea was that bad.
While we're on Corinne, real quick, Dano, is she not Stassi Schroeder?
She does remind me a lot of Stassi.
Yeah.
Stassi Schroeder.
She's on Vanderpump Rules.
Ah, okay.
Matt, we need to get you more. We need to get you more on the Bravo train.
I guess so. And then I think both people who spoke a foreign language, that's always good.
So Vanessa and Astrid.
But my all-time favorite, this was probably one of my favorite limo entrances ever. Was
all time.
Yeah, I really thought it was funny. Was Jasmine bringing Neil Lane out with a bunch of rings and telling him which one she liked?
How does that even come about? Do the producers say, "Hey, Neil's around if we want him"?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but it was hilarious because Neil Lane has sold Nick or given Nick 3 rings already.
I know.
So
it's like, oh, it's you again.
Right. It was like a 4th time, and obviously that'll happen at some point. And to just kind of jokingly say that, you know, just in case this is the one I would like, I thought was clever.
Yeah. It was a marathon through 30 women. I'm sure there was more thoughts on impressions and dresses and whatnot, but have we ever had 30 before?
Yeah, I think it's happened. I've had to enter 30 names into the site before.
You know, yeah. Dano and I are our fantasy for LA teams 15 deep. One of us has many more players remaining than the other, and his name is not Spencer. Let's move on to the cup. See what?
One of you has beaten the other one pretty badly in recent times, and I'm forgetting which one.
I've lost, I think, one of our recent ones really badly after having won several in a row. We kind of go in streaks.
Yeah.
But I already lost 6 of my 15 players here in week 1 on Fantasy for Reality. So we'll get into more on the state of the reality fantasy business here in a little bit. But I want to go ahead and dive into the cocktail party. We moved inside real quick off the bat. Rachel gets that first one-on-one time. She stands out quickly to Nick. Anything? Obviously, I know her or knew her previously. Any background for you guys as far as like first thoughts or impressions on Rachel?
Go ahead, Matt.
Well, I liked her. I thought she, and I, as a former attorney, am not liable to like attorneys, but
you liked Andy Dorfman. I remember that.
So maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I think I don't like lawyers, and I actually like lawyers. I did like Andy Dorfman.
You like them now that you don't practice anymore.
Right, that's right. But yeah, she was kind of charming, and I was surprised he gave her the rose because I thought he really vibed with the one he was talking to right before he gave the rose out. The prenatal nurse.
Vanessa? Danielle M.
Yeah.
Blonde Danielle.
I thought that was going.
We should just be Danielle Blonde and Danielle Brunette or Danielle Dark. We don't need initials.
Yeah. But
those two.
And by the way, this is a much more diverse group than normal.
You took the words right out of my mouth. The pond is definitely stocked differently than it ever has been before. The Bachelor franchise has taken heat over its lack of racial diversity. So the pool has been stocked much more with ethnic diversity this time around, and that for sure. And they didn't all go home week 1.
No, I mean, my guess is that Nick expressed more openness to dating, all different races and ethnicities than maybe others have. I don't know.
And I mean, at this point in time, in season 4 for Nick, he's pretty much a producer, right?
Yeah. So
they're like, hey, we'd like to do a couple things to shake things up this season, and we think it'll make better TV. He's all for it. He's part of the production crew. I mean, he probably gets a Christmas card from everybody.
Right.
Vanessa, we've talked about her a couple times. She had a little one-on-one time, and she was hoping Nick, the Bachelor, was going to kiss her. Yeah. She's one, right? She gets interrupted. I I think Nick really liked her on night one. She was one of kind of the ones that seemed to rise a little to the top. What were you guys' takeaways on Vanessa? Matt,
Well,
we'll start with you.
I liked her from the minute they said she makes lasagna. I mean, they basically said she's in Canada. That's a good thing. She's Italian. That's also a good thing. She cooks Italian food. That's the best possible thing. And then she is a nice person who works with special needs children. There's nothing not to like about her.
Yeah. Dano, she remind you at all of Svetlana from Real World Key West?
No, not at all. I didn't even think about that.
She reminded me of her. Not like personality or anything, just appearance-wise.
Now, I actually had Vanessa, just pre-first show in my top 4 or 5.
Really?
For a lot of reasons Matt said. I mean, especially if you just think of the way the show usually runs, there's going to be, in your top 4, there's going to be one of the villains. And I think I messed up. I thought Raven was going to be the villain, so I think I might have messed up there. And then you usually have like a teacher or a nurse or someone in that kind of ballpark. And then you get a special ed teacher. That's like a double. I mean, that's a double win. So you need her to balance the villain. So it's kind of one of the reasons I took Vanessa. I thought Vanessa would go. I think she's going to go kind of far. I hope.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So I want to talk about, not necessarily about some people, but some of these other antics that were going on first night. So Neil Lane Jasmine, that's what I'm calling her since there's 2 Jasmines. I guess one of them went home. I don't know if it was her that went home or not, though. She's crying on night 1 because she hasn't had one-on-one time. This night lasts for hours upon hours. And, Dano, shouldn't everyone be getting one-on-one time?
I mean, yes, in theory, but I mean, go to the point we just talked about. There's 30 of these girls. I'm sure he doesn't. I'm sure the party is not 6 hours long. Or I mean, I'm sure it lasts that long, but I'm sure there's breaks and fresh up. They do staging and all that good stuff. And I bet it feels like a mess when you're in there with one dude and 30 people are trying to talk to him. And then some people quick in and get 2 visits before the first person gets 1 visit, and he's getting pulled in all these different directions. So I can totally see where 30 women could feel left out.
That part sounds so brutal for everybody, including The Bachelor, who, I guess I'm a Nick guy now, but I enjoyed the fact
That's a company man.
I liked the fact that he told one of the women who tried to interrupt him, I sat down with this other person. I can't leave her. I've been waiting for people to do that forever. Just say no.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this year you added in some negative points for interruptions.
Oh, no, that's been the one thing I couldn't stand as a viewer.
Okay.
And so I've always given negative points. But you have to interrupt with a rose. It doesn't, if you interrupt just on, I want to talk to him,
okay.
Fine. It's only when you've already received a rose and you interrupt that I find that just so loathsome.
Yeah. So I jumped into this cocktail party a little ahead of one of the topics on our rundown, and it's a big topic, so I want to get back to it. Liz, and not Elizabeth, but Liz, the one that has a little bit of a background with Nick. He describes her time as a wild and crazy night. He feels like he was spurned at this wedding, Jaden Tanner's wedding. Rightfully so, Matt?
I mean, yes, I think his point on this was right. He was with her that night. She had no problem emphasizing over and over again to the camera that they had sex. She has total access to him. So if she's completely interested in dating him, she could do it any time. It's that she didn't think he was going to be the Bachelor when she signed up for the show, which she thought was doing herself a favor, like making it clear that she wasn't stalking him or something. But actually, it makes it worse for her that she was looking for someone else. So I think he knows for a fact that she's not there for the right reason.
Oh,
So-
dude. First mention of the right reasons on the podcast this season. Dan, or to you, she says she's gotten over his stereotype after the wedding, after watching Paradise, meaning that she had a bad impression of him at the wedding. So it was like, so you thought I was a jerk at the wedding and then you liked me better on TV?
She just screamed crazy ex-girlfriend. You know, you watch those movies or the show where that girlfriend just pops in all like at the weird times at the wrong place. You're like, what are you doing here? She just screams that. They should get her old boyfriends to come on and talk about her and see what other antics she's pulled.
So this is an idea that I glossed over a little bit earlier. Matt had this idea about incorporating some crazy exes into the show. You want to share, Matt?
Well, yeah. So about the time she gets out of the limo, Liz gets out of the limo and she approaches Nick, and she tries to be all kind of like funny and coy by not introducing herself or pretending like, or just acknowledging the fact that they had slept together to catch him, to see whether or not he knows. And as that's happening, I'm thinking, oh my God, they should pull this stunt where they have an entire limo of women that the Bachelor has dated and or slept with in the past, because they can hunt them down.
Well, they already had two.
Right. And just
they already had three.
Right. They've done it tonight. That night they did it on Kimmel, and so
Yeah.
just bring one after another out of the limo without telling him that this is going to happen, and have their reaction be live. It would be awesome. And whether or not he realizes that they're going to stay or not, it would just be great to see one after another.
Can we look at this from one angle too, where Liz?
As long as it's not that angle shooting up from the ground at Nick when he enters the shower.
I'm just saying. I mean, ABC production crew was at Jade and Tanner's wedding. I'm sure the producer saw what happened between Liz and Nick.
Oh,
Once they knew Nick was going to be the Bachelor, they probably gave Liz a call and like, hey, you mind come and hang out with us for a night? It's going to make great TV.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Jade has come out in the news to People this week, saying she's a little disappointed with how Nick Viall treated my maid of honor, Liz. I don't know if she meant how he treated her on night one or how he treated her after the wedding, but her quote, she had talked to me about it before she went on the show, and I kind of tried to prep her for it, and I'm proud of her for doing it. I feel like it's really brave. She really did have an interest in Nick, and she went there to see if there was anything, and I totally support her. I've heard a little bit. I know the whole situation is awkward, but I'll say I'm a little disappointed. He could have gotten her number too.
What a joke.
Thanks, Jade.
Sounds like he asked her for it, and she said,
oh, he totally asked for it.
So,
and if she had wanted to get a hold of him, she could ask Tanner or Jade.
Right. I'm with Nick on this one. I cannot believe I'm saying this over and over again.
Oh.
Sounds like a broken record. Anyhow, so the first impression rose, as we said, went to Rachel and a kiss. Rose ceremony, you know, I always like to keep up with who's getting those roses first. First ones, at least, that we saw on TV, Vanessa, Danielle L., and Kristen, who I don't even remember who Kristen is, but she got the third rose. Did Kristen leave an impression on either of you guys? Is she she's a wedding videographer from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
That's it.
Ringing any bells?
No.
Nope.
Anyhow, moving on. Corinne, this rose ceremony. She's freaked out. She doesn't get a rose, and she gets like the fifth one handed out. She may be a little much. She may be the real over the top villain for us this season. She may be Kelsey Poe type crazy with my story. Either of you guys shocked Josephine gets a rose?
Yep. I mean, she was dead last in our draft. And she did nothing on the show to change my mind.
How about the profile photo?
The worst. I mean, it was the worst. So she would have gone undrafted. She ended up on my team just because
you had the 30th pick.
Right. So she was there, and yet she's survived. And some of the better looking people are gone.
Yeah. Seems like there was a lot of producer picks here on night one. Dano, did you get the feeling at all that there was a fair number of maybe producer picks?
Not really, but again, for me, night one's the hardest night because there's just so many of them, and it's hard for me to kind of.
It's hard for The Bachelor too.
I wonder why they don't wear name tags.
They definitely should wear name tags.
I would need name tags.
I'm surprised after Jesse Palmer season they didn't require name tags on night one, or at least night 1 through 10.
I mean, yes, Jesse Palmer, that was classic.
Yeah.
But he sent home, I'm just looking at it now, he sent home Lauren, he sent home Olivia, he sent home Susanna. They all seem better than some of the people he kept.
Yeah, so Olivia, Michelle, Lauren, Brianna, Angela, Ida Marie, interesting name, Jasmine B, and Susanna. The one that really stood out to me was Lauren. Lauren was a top 8 pick for me. Seemed like a big miss to have not gotten any airtime or maybe even to talk to her. Maybe was he that repulsed by the vile hussy comments?
I don't get that. That was so funny.
I'm with you 100%. I agree.
I mean, she also just might not be his type. I mean, it seems like Nick likes not maybe the blonde, the tan blonde. It might not be his thing.
Yeah,
for this week, this season. He kind of bounces around. And if you think about the girls he's been on, like they've been short, dark-haired, women.
Yeah. Andy, Caitlyn, Jen.
I could see Corinne dyeing her hair at some point in the season.
He did take a liking to Amanda Stanton on Paradise before Josh swooped in, which I did appreciate some of the commentary from Josh and Sean Booth on the Sunday night special where Josh promised not to come in and steal his girl, and Sean Booth said, it's time for the other guy. Yeah, Lauren, Matt, you guys have a lot of different formats for your fantasy games on the new beta site at Fantasy for Reality, and in my office pool, which is a great way that I recommend everyone do that if they're having playing the salary cap version of the game. She was one of my 8 people that I chose. I had my pick of whoever I wanted, and I chose Lauren, and she went home. Talk a little bit more on fantasy in a second, but they had a pretty dicey, seeming good coming up this season on. Anything stand out to you, Dano?
I mean, the whole Corinne angle, they kind of played up. How far, what's she willing to do to stay on the show? I think that's going to be interesting. We got the stereotypical crying on the balcony shot.
The Mesnick.
Gotta get that in. Looks like Corinne takes her top off in the middle, at a pool date or something like that. So that, we'll be see. I wonder how that will be received amongst the girls. And then I guess just to see how this whole Liz thing plays out.
Yeah.
That was the primary reason not to keep Liz. Was that once it comes out that he's already slept with her in a previous life, that is not going to play well.
Yeah, and I think that has to be a producer pick. I don't think he wanted to keep her on night one.
Oh, no, he did not.
I agree with you.
Coming up though, Jamie has an ex-girlfriend. That slap in the face. Surely that's part of some acting performance and not a real
Yes.
slap in the face.
Yes, I agree.
But my biggest takeaway from this season on, how the mighty have fallen. The Backstreet Boys are on The Bachelor. There was a point in time where these guys were the biggest of big, and they would not be stooping to being on a reality television show. But
Well, they're not Backstreet Boys anymore. That's the problem.
They're Backstreet Men.
They're Backstreet middle-aged men.
There we go. And they didn't have Justin Timberlake to carry their band. Let's go to rankings, guys. Matt, we'll start with you. Top 3 bachelorettes after one episode.
So
No particular order needed.
We want in Nick's eyes or in my eyes?
In your eyes, or in how you think they will advance.
So I think I would go Rachel. I think that was genuine.
Yeah.
I think I agree with whoever it was that said Vanessa.
Not Vanessa with the singing career.
Then I think
Nobody got my joke.
third. No, what was the joke?
It was a quote from the Digital Underground.
Oh.
Keep going.
I would go the third one. Maybe Danielle M.
Well, it looks like I don't need to give my top 3. Dan, we'll go over to you.
Same?
Same 3.
Wow. That's good.
Yeah, really, I think Rachel, I agree with Vanessa. And, Corinne, right? I think those bad girls, though, they usually get cut the last top 7 or 6.
Right.
Once they push too many buttons.
Once the producers lose their right to keep someone on the show.
Yeah, once they they burn out, basically. I don't know, really, if I just want to pick someone, I'm looking at Whitney right now. She kind of looks like Andy. So,
yeah, I took Whitney with my second pick in our draft. I took Danielle M, number 1, who I still really like. I took Whitney. We didn't really get to know her in episode 1. A little disappointed there, but sounds like we're all in kind of the same ballpark. Matt and I are playing on the exact same field.
Well, there's always a sleeper pick, one who doesn't emerge until week 4 or 5.
Oh, always the Catherine Giudice.
Yeah. So who's that girl going to be? Is it Whitney? Is it any of these other nameless girls?
There's a chance that Alexis.
Yeah,
there's a chance that Alexis as well.
Shark Girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, Matt, one of your favorite parts of The Bachelor is your website, Fantasy for Reality, or the new website, the beta site, the beta.fantasy for reality website, which I really like. I know I've been giving a lot of feedback to Jake. Want to give Jake a shout out, who does all your web development. He's been doing an awesome job over on your beta site. Dan and I enjoyed it for drafting our teams. I alluded to earlier.
Yep.
I've taken a big hit after week 1. Dano's got the lead and a roster chock full of bachelorettes, while mine's been decimated a little bit. But I wanted to dive in with you. Mentioned before, lots of different versions of the game, and people can come and play even after the season started, right?
Yes. So I second that. Jake has done a wonderful job. He's worked really hard on trying to come up with different ways to play the game and launch the beta for us. And hopefully that beta works out any kinks, any users that play it. Please let us know if you have any issues. And Jake will work to correct them, and then we'll launch that as the site itself once we've done that. We've got different ways to draft. Basically, what we tried to do was come up with a way to concerns that users have had through the years that they've written us and said, hey, we made this mistake, or is it possible to do this instead? And we've tried to put all the power in the hands
of the commissioner.
So, right, in terms of the commissioner, so that A, ability and freedom, and B, we don't have to do it. So I don't know which is more important, but they're both at the top of our list. And so if you have any other ideas of ways that you want to make the game more fun, just let us know.
I will.
Oh, we know you will. I've met listeners at large.
So Dano was chatting me up earlier about kind of the state of reality in fantasy, and since it was his topic, I don't want to steal his thunder. I'll let him deliver the questions to you.
Yeah. So Matt, let me get your thoughts on this. Especially, I mean, this is really around The Bachelor. With so many like leaks now on The Bachelor and in The Bachelorette, what's going on? Like, isn't it weird to throw a fantasy league around someone who if I wanted to find out who could win, I could easily find out.
Right.
And how's that changing how we play this game? Like, if I was playing fantasy football, I wouldn't want to be in a league where I think half the people know who's going to score the most touchdowns.
I think that's right. And that was always a concern because Reality Steve was always in existence. I'm sure now, there's just there's more attention paid to the show probably than there used to be.
Yeah.
Which is weird because you'd think it would be going the opposite way, but figured out a way to keep the excitement building. It is definitely a concern, but I think for the most part, and this I think is a problem for, it's obvious that ABC and ESPN sort of partnered together and they've launched a where you can play a sort of a fantasy game on their site. It's structured a little differently where you pick four, not to plug them, but I'm just going to explain how we're different. You get four contestants that you think are going to go far. You pick them. You can change that up to the third week. From what I understand, I'm not playing the site, obviously. And then you can answer trivia questions that they pose to you throughout the weeks. That stuff. The problem with, I think, their situation and what makes us different is if you play in a group with the public and/or the only thing you're trying to predict is the winner, then you're going to end up on the same side of the ledger as almost everyone else who plays. I mean, I think Spencer and I, after watching one episode, we had the exact same 3 people. So now, if we were playing in that type of scenario, just go pick those 3 women. We'd have the same exact outcome. Yeah. I don't see that as fun at all, to be honest. And the thing is, if you're playing with your friends and you don't trust them, and they go look up who's going to win, and then they draft based on that, I agree. So I think the point is to have fun and not look at that stuff. Otherwise, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what makes the game on Fantasy for Reality so much better. I've checked out what ESPN is doing, where you get to answer some questions and try to predict different things that are going to happen. But the way the scoring is set up on Fantasy for Reality makes it to where you can't predict these things. Even if you could find spoilers on every episode, you wouldn't be able to figure out how many times someone cries or how many times someone kisses someone, or if someone interrupts someone with a rose, like you said earlier. I think that's what makes your game a better game, because you have more things that are unpredictable and can kind of break through spoilers. I mean, for instance, Chad scored so many points in Paradise this summer on your site, but was only there for a very short amount of time. Was still one of the highest scoring people for the entire summer. So a spoiler couldn't have told you that he was going to be the best guy for your fantasy team based on his longevity there.
I think that's right. Thank you for that. And I think that's a good point. That is exactly right. I mean, we've seen this. I've played for, since I came up with the idea. I don't know, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever it was. After League, I've seen people who win by picking the people who go the farthest, and I've seen people win by picking the people who win in other ways. Sometimes the winner of a league does not have the final two people. They just had the most controversial or the most aggressive people in other ways. So
you have that villain.
She spends half the season naked. That's how you win a league.
What was her name? Lucy,
something like that.
Lucy, there you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, and we did structure it for that purpose. I think that is what makes the game fun, not just knowing who's going to win.
Very, very good. Well, we enjoy it, Dano and I, but also now my colleagues at my real job are also enjoying it quite a bit. We have a small league, so always appreciate what you guys are doing. Fantasy, the numeral 4 reality.com. You can find them on Twitter at fantasy numeral 4 again, reality. Dano, hit everybody with where they can find us online before we get out of here.
You can hit us with Twitter at After Reality Pod, or like our Facebook page, the After Reality TV podcast.
And we can find you on where?
You can find me on Twitter. You can find me at my house. Sometimes I go to work, but if you want, you can reach out to me at Daniel Ohler, OEHLER.
You can find me on this podcast most of the time when the Bachelor franchise is on the air, or you can find me on Twitter at Spencer Kitley, all one word. Matt, it's been a pleasure. Thanks again. We'll see you soon. Until next time, we remind everyone you can blah, blah, blah. I can't talk. Until next time, we remind you we like bears and Mexican food right here on After Reality.